The president has said he wants to have soldiers there. I don't think we're going to even be necessary, but I don't think there'll be any problem with keeping the deal with the security.
We're going to discuss
You want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the deal, if we get it, is going to be hugely important. I don't think it would have happened if the space hadn't been created for it by yourself. But if there's a deal in, we've got to make sure it's a deal that lasts, that is not temporary, that lasts, and that's why we need to make sure that it's secure, and we've lent in and said we'll play our part, and we've talked and we will talk about how we work with yourself, Mr. President, to ensure that this deal is something which is not violated, because it's very important that if there is a deal.
Donald Trump met with the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer today, and it went about as well as all of the other state visits so far. And by that, I mean Trump was corrected by the man visiting him in the Oval Office, and he completely humiliated himself in several ways. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Before we get into Starmer correcting Trump and the kind of glitch out that his brain had, I want to start with how the press conference began. A couple questions like this one right here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to keep that one.
You're going to keep that one.
President Trump, Andrew and Tristan Tate landed in Florida today on a private jet after being released from custody in Romania. They are accused rapists, human traffickers, not thought of as good people in many circles. Did your administration pressure the Romanian government to release them, and if so, why?
I know nothing about that. I don't know. You're saying he's on a plane right now?
He's back. They already did.
Yeah, I just know nothing about it. We'll check it out. We'll let you know.
I do. Look, obviously, this involves, there's an English element here, so obviously it's important that justice is done, and human trafficking is obviously, to my mind, a security risk, and so we'll catch up with the story in due course.
You're aware? Are you aware? I didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
The man who started his political career by fear-mongering about dangerous illegals, criminals coming into the country, is now letting criminals into the country, very famous criminals. And if you're not familiar with Andrew and Tristan Tate, they are these disgusting misogynists. There are, as mentioned by the reporter, cases ongoing about their behavior. They're illegal. Their crimes in Romania. And the reason Donald Trump likes them is because Andrew Tate, all of those descriptions in mind, as you would imagine, is defending Donald Trump and praising him on social media and moving young men to the right. And it's the reason why Trump is supporting him and his brother. That's who he is focused on helping. But there's a group of people who he doesn't care about. And that was brought up during the press conference with this question right here.
I didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
Mr. President, veterans make up 30% of the federal workforce. Are you tracking how many veterans have been fired so far?
Yes, we are. We are, and we take good care of our veterans, so we're watching that very carefully, and we hope it's going to be as small a number as possible. But we are having great success in slimming down our government. It's been really very successful, and some took payouts and buyouts, and others took other things, and some people we're finding out don't even exist. We're finding that we have a lot of people that don't exist, that people thought that did. We will be making a statement on that, but we're taking care of our veterans. We love our veterans. We're going to take good care of them.
It is so sad that we used to have a president who didn't call troops suckers and losers, who passed the PACT Act, who looked out for our veterans. And now we have Donald Trump. And Ruben Gillo was on the Bulwark podcast yesterday, great senator from Arizona, talking about how not only are these Trump actions just wrong in the firings, but some of the new requirements put in place by DOJ could very easily trigger the PTSD of veterans, making them explain their disabilities, forcing them to come into the office, making them move. It's just horrible, this treatment. And what else do you expect from Donald Trump? Hates our troops at home, but praises Putin like we saw right here.
Yeah, please, ma'am, go ahead.
Mr. President, what would you be willing to do if Vladimir Putin did not stick to the terms of any deal on Ukraine.
If he not what?
He did not stick to the terms of any deal on Ukraine because he has a history of not sticking to his word when it comes to international
I
agreements.
think he'll keep his word. I think I've spoken to him. I've known him for a long time now. You know, I've known him. We had to go through the Russian hoax together. That was not a good thing. It's not fair. That was a rigged deal and had nothing to do with Russia. It was a rigged deal with inside the country, and they had to put up with that too. They put up with a lot. It wasn't just us. They had to put up with it, with a phony story that was made up. I've known him for a long time now, and I think he will. I don't believe he's going to violate his word. I don't think he'll be back when we make a deal. I think the deal is going to hold. Now they're going to have security. You're going to have security. Yep. You're going to have soldiers. I know France wants to be there. The president has said he wants to have soldiers there. I don't think we're going to even be necessary, but I don't think there'll be any problem with keeping the deal with the security.
We're going to discuss
You want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the deal, if we get it, is going to be hugely important. I don't think it would have happened if the space hadn't been created for it by yourself. But if there's a deal in, we've got to make sure it's a deal that lasts, that is not temporary, that lasts, and that's why we need to make sure that it's secure, and we've lent in and said we'll play our part, and we've talked and we will talk about how we work with yourself, Mr. President, to ensure that this deal is something which is not violated, because it's very important that if there is a deal.
Of course, Trump is going to defend Putin. There's no shock there. But what was a little surprising is the malfunction that happened in his brain when he was asked about President Zelensky. And we just have to take a look at this right here, that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator. Did I say that? I can't believe I said that next question. I don't know if he was trying to tell a joke there. He might have actually just forgotten. So either he's joking about calling the president of one of our ally nations a dictator. Either he thinks that's funny or he's Skyle, right? So if MAGA wants to come out in full force and saying, oh, the libs are lying about Trump, he was joking about what the leader of a country that was horrifically invaded by Russia, and now we're siding with Russia. That's the joke. Great one, me. They are the joke. Donald Trump is so, of course, is J.D. Vance as well, who got shot down by Starmer pushing Donald Trump's talking points. Let's take a look.
J.D., we're putting you on stage.
Great. Yeah, look, I said what I said, which is that we do have, of course, a special relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies. But we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and, by extension, American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time. Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of JD. I'm tired of any of the JD Vance shtick talking about our free speech. Aren't you the same guy who is sitting alongside the president, who is actively going after media companies, banning individual journalists from the White House, is suing a pollster in Iowa, a state he won by like 11 points. That's the big free speech guy. Punish you. If you don't say Gulf of America, guy JD is a joke. My favorite thing about that, besides him just getting put in his place, is that Trump didn't defend him at all. Trump clearly has such a disdain for J.D. Vance. He's just like, I don't care. This guy's a loser. Even he knows it. He's like, I know losers, and J.D. Vance is one of them. Doesn't even help his vice president. I forgot J.D. Vance was around. It's always weird to see him looking like a racist Care Bear. I think it's the most apt description of J.D. Vance. And I guess the only time I remember him is that horrific trip he just took defending Putin. Speaking of which, back to that, we can make fun of J.D. Vance's appearance all day. Senator Adam Schiff just delivered a brutal takedown of Trump for his defense of Putin in a clip I want to check out here.
I urge you to beware of the temptation of labeling both sides equally at fault, the temptation to ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire. My colleagues, these are not my words. They are, of course, the words of Ronald Reagan almost 42 years ago to the day. Imagine if he could see his party now turning its back on our ally and fellow democracy, Ukraine, sponsoring a UN resolution that would whitewash the start of the war, engaging in the most immoral equivalence, and failing to assign responsibility to Russia for its invasion and ruthless aggression, voting with Russia and North Korea against our longtime friends and allies in Europe and around the world, abandoning and insulting our allies as Putin seeks to remake the map of Europe. And what is this resolution in the United States about that we helped defeat? The U.S. has used its influence and its vetoes in the Security Council many times, but this resolution was offered by dozens of our close allies on the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What was in it that was so objectionable to split the U.S. from its friends? The resolution made clear that Russia started this war. It reaffirmed the sovereignty and independence of Ukraine. It deplored Russian aggression on women and children. It raised concerns with North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces. It noted the threat to nuclear safety. It called for an end to the war and a just and lasting peace and the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukrainian lands. None of this is in dispute, none. This was the resolution that the U.S., the leader of the free world, blocked at the United Nations. Can any member of this body point to a single problematic word in that resolution? Of course not. The Senate should stand by that resolution, even as we must stand by Ukraine. Today, the White House and Kremlin seek to rewrite the history of this war with falsehood and slander, calling Zelensky the dictator, Ukraine the instigator, and Putin the hero. We need to do more than say something. We need to do something. Slava Ukraini.
He has abandoned our ally again. Let's go back to that. Was he making a joke about abandoning our ally? Like, this is what it's come to. And the refusal of Republicans to call the Russian invasion of Ukraine an invasion by Russia into Ukraine when it's in the name shows us how spineless they are, how willing to cede power they are. You know, I talked about in a previous video, Mike Johnson and his new budget bill, which would continue spending that. Elon Musk has said that has already been cut. They would be re-upping it, right? So then what's the point of that? If Congress isn't going to change anything that you've deemed wasteful, well, it's because that is the point. They don't want Congress to have any power. Mike Johnson likes to be impotent, you know? He's got that app for monitoring certain type of material, certain type of media that people watch when they're alone on his son's phone as well. They're partners. Right? All remember that they want to SE all their power and they just want to be quiet and listen to whatever Donald Trump tells them. And we got to call that out. And Jazz MC Crockett certainly did right here.
It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem.
These people are pathetic, and we should treat them like they are. That's what Jasmine Crockett did. That's how we got to approach him on the show, and of course, that's what we're going to be doing every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you around at the end and drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you soon.